The Barren Billionaire who couldn't become a father for 10 years. The truth that'll make you cry. What kind of man are you? What kind of man can't even give his wife a child? You're not a man, Dominic. You're just a broken shell with a bank account. Those were the words Victoria screamed at me in front of everyone at the most expensive restaurant in the city. The night my marriage ended. The night I learned that all the money in the world couldn't buy me the one thing I wanted most. The ability to be a father. But here's what nobody tells you about rock bottom. Sometimes you have to break completely before you can be put back together the right way. Fast forward 3 years. I'm sitting in a greenhouse surrounded by plants I can't name, and this woman I just met, this stranger named Mira, is looking at medical reports that destroyed my life. And she says something that changes everything. These numbers don't define you, Dominic. They're just information. Your body isn't broken. It's been traumatized. There's a difference, and trauma can heal. I spent $47 million trying to become a father. 10 years of my life, 73 failed medical procedures, 1 destroyed marriage, 3 years of complete isolation, and I was ready to give up. Until a broken down car on an abandoned road led me to a woman who grew miracles in the soil. This is a story of how the Barren Billionaire learned that sometimes the thing you want most only comes when you stop grasping and start growing. And trust me, by the time we're done, you'll never look at success the same way again. But first, I need to know my family's here. If you've ever felt broken, if you've ever wondered whether healing is possible, if you've ever believed you were too damaged for happiness, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment and tell me you're present, because what I'm about to share will challenge everything you think you know about wealth, worth, and what it really means to be whole. Your engagement, your likes, your shares, they help this message reach people who need it most. So do me that favor, subscribe, like, comment present, and let's begin. Have you ever stood in a room worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes and felt absolutely nothing? That was my life. That was my every single day. My name is Dominic Ashford, and if you follow business news, you might recognize the name. Ashford Tech Solutions, Forbes 30 under 30, self-made billionaire by 32, the American dream wrapped in Italian suits and titanium credit cards. But here's what the Forbes article didn't mention. All that success meant absolutely nothing because I couldn't do the one thing that billions of people do without even trying. I couldn't create life. Let me take you back. 10 years before the greenhouse. 10 years before Mira. 10 years before I learned what real wealth actually means. I'm standing in my penthouse, 40 stories above the city, floor-to-ceiling windows offering views that cost $8 million. And I'm staring at a door, just a door, the 4th door on the left in the east wing of my 23-room penthouse. I haven't opened that door in 2 years. Haven't even walked down that hallway if I could avoid it, because behind that door is a nursery. Fully equipped, $300,000 worth of furniture, custom Italian crib, rocking chair made from reclaimed barn wood, walls painted soft green because Victoria and I couldn't agree on pink or blue, so we chose neutral. Ready and waiting for a baby that never came. That would never come. The doctor's voice still echoes in my head. Clinical, professional, compassionate in that detached medical way that somehow makes bad news feel even worse. Mr. Ashford, I'm afraid the results are conclusive. You have severe oligospermia. Your sperm count is approximately 5 million per milliliter. Normal is 15 million or higher. Additionally, the motility is extremely poor at 15%. We'd want to see at least 40%. And the morphology, the shape and structure of the sperm, is at 2% normal. We need at least 4% for viable conception. I remember sitting in that office chair, Victoria beside me, both of us frozen, and I'd asked a question I already knew the answer to. What does this mean? In plain English, the doctor had removed his glasses, cleaned them slowly, the kind of pause that doctors do when they're about to destroy your world. It means that natural conception is virtually impossible. The chances are less than 1%. We can attempt IVF, ICSI, where we inject a single sperm directly into an egg. But given the severity of the fragmentation and motility issues, success rates would be extremely low. Perhaps 2 to 5% per attempt. 2 to 5%. I'd built a billion-dollar company on worse odds. I'd taken risks that made investors nervous and turned them into fortunes. 2 to 5% sounded doable. Challenging, but doable. I didn't understand then that business odds and biology odds are completely different games. That was 10 years ago, and for the next 7 years, Victoria and I threw everything at the problem. I mean everything. IVF, $15,000 per attempt. We did it 12 times. 12 times of hormone injections for Victoria. 12 times of scheduled intimacy that felt more like a medical procedure than making love. 12 times of waiting 2 weeks for a pregnancy test. 12 times of watching Victoria's face crumble when the test came back negative. That's $180,000. 12 crushing disappointments. And we were just getting started. EC, $20,000 per attempt. 8 tries. Same result. Every single time. Negative, negative, negative. That word started haunting my dreams. Another 160,000 gone. Then we moved into experimental territory. Treatments that weren't FDA approved. Procedures that required us to fly to different countries. Switzerland, Germany, Japan, cutting-edge reproductive technology that promised miracles and delivered nothing but more debt and more heartbreak. $2.3 million on experimental treatments. Not one of them worked. Not one. I remember the night we tried treatment number 47. Some new technique involving genetic selection and mitochondrial transfer. Very experimental. Very expensive. Very much our last hope, or so we thought. Victoria was lying on the examination table. I was holding her hand. And the doctor was explaining the procedure when Victoria just started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind of laughter that comes right before a breakdown. "What's funny?" I'd asked. She'd looked at me with eyes that had cried too many tears to produce any more. "We've spent more money trying to have a baby than most people spend on a house. Multiple houses. We could have bought a mansion. We could have adopted 20 children. We could have done anything. And instead we're here. Again. Hoping that this time, your broken body will cooperate." The doctor had left the room, giving us privacy. And I'd said the only thing I could think of. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could fix this, if I could change this, I would. You know I would. But sorry doesn't make babies, Dominic. Sorry doesn't give me what I want. What I've always wanted. What every woman around me seems to get without even trying." She'd sat up, pulled her hospital gown close, made a decision I could see forming in real time. "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep breaking my heart every month. I can't keep watching you hate yourself. I can't keep pretending that love is enough when it's not giving me what I need." That wasn't the night she left, but it was the beginning of the end. The moment we both acknowledged what we'd been avoiding. This wasn't working. This was never going to work, and staying together was just prolonging the inevitable. The actual end came 6 months later, and it was so much worse than a private conversation in a medical office. We were at Bellissimo, 5-star restaurant, our anniversary, 7 years of marriage, 7 years of trying, failing, trying again, failing again. I made reservations months in advance. Wanted to do something nice, something that wasn't about doctors and procedures and calendars marked with ovulation dates. Victoria had worn red, blood red, a dress that turned heads when she walked into the room. She looked beautiful, stunning, and completely miserable. We'd ordered, made small talk, the kind of polite conversation you have with strangers, not with someone you've shared a bed with for 7 years. And then, between the appetizer and the main course, she'd stood up. "I need to say something." Her voice had been loud, intentionally loud, carrying across the restaurant. People had turned to look. I'd felt my stomach drop. Victoria, please. Not here. Let's talk at home. No. Here. Now. Because I'm done hiding. I'm done pretending everything's fine when it's not. She'd looked around the restaurant, made eye contact with the people staring, and then she'd looked at me with something that felt like hatred. I'm leaving my husband. I'm leaving this man who has everything except the one thing that matters: money, success, power. But he can't give me a child. He spent millions trying, and he can't do it because he's not really a man, not where it counts. The restaurant had gone completely silent. You know that moment in movies where all sound cuts out and you just hear ringing? It was like that. Except this was real. This was my life imploding in front of 80 people who would absolutely tell everyone they knew. I'd stood up, tried to reach for her hand. Victoria, please. She'd pulled away like I was diseased. Don't touch me. I can't do this anymore. I can't spend another year, another month, another day watching you fail at the most basic biological function. I want children, Dominic. I want to be a mother, and you can't give me that. So I'm going to find someone who can. And then she'd walked out. Just walked out of the restaurant, out of our marriage, out of my life, while everyone watched, while whispers started, while I stood there feeling smaller than I'd ever felt, despite being one of the richest men in the city. I'd left money on the table, more than enough to cover the meal we hadn't eaten. And I'd walked out of that restaurant knowing I could never show my face in public again. Because by tomorrow, everyone would know. Everyone would be talking about it. The billionaire who couldn't perform. The rich man with broken equipment. The success story with a fatal flaw. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Victoria took half. $23 million. The penthouse. 2 of the cars. Half of everything we'd built together. And I didn't fight it, didn't argue, didn't care. Because money meant nothing when it couldn't buy me the one thing I wanted. 6 months after the divorce, I saw her Instagram post. Her, smiling, glowing, with a new man. Some guy I vaguely recognized from business circles. And the caption made me want to throw my phone through a window. New beginnings, new love, new life growing. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag grateful. Hashtag finally. She was pregnant. 6 months. With someone new, and she was pregnant. The thing we tried for 7 years. The thing we'd spent millions pursuing. The thing that destroyed our marriage. She got it in half a year with someone else. The message was clear. The problem wasn't her. It was me. It had always been me. I was the defective one. The broken one. The one who couldn't do what every other man seemed to do without effort. I stopped leaving the penthouse after that. Just stopped. What was the point? Every social event was a minefield. Every conversation eventually led to the same questions. So when are you settling down again? You're young, successful. Any man would be lucky to have you, or worse. Your parents must be dying for grandchildren. When are you going to give them some? Or the absolute worst? I heard about Victoria. I heard she's pregnant. Must be hard for you. Yeah, hard didn't begin to cover it. Try devastating. Try soul-crushing. Try feeling like less than a man every single day of your existence. My parents tried. God, they tried. My mother would call every week. Dominic, sweetheart, please come to dinner. We miss you. We never see you anymore. And I'd make excuses. Work, projects, deadlines. Anything to avoid sitting at their table and seeing the question in their eyes they were too kind to ask. The question about grandchildren they'd never have. About the Ashford name that would die with me. 4 generations of builders and entrepreneurs. Ending because I couldn't do the most basic human thing. My father tried a different approach. Practical. Solutions-oriented. The way he taught me to approach business problems. Son, have you considered adoption? There are thousands of children who need good homes. You could give them opportunities most kids never get. And I'd wanted to scream. I don't want someone else's child. I want my own. I want to see my genetics, my features, my legacy carried forward. I want what you had, what you took for granted, the simple ability to create life. But I didn't scream. I just said, I'll think about it, Dad. Thanks. And then I'd hang up and sit in my empty penthouse and feel nothing. That was the worst part. Not the anger or sadness or grief. Those would have been something. The worst part was the numbness, the complete absence of feeling. Like I died inside, but my body forgot to stop breathing. 3 years. That's how long I existed like that. Not lived, existed. Going through motions, running my business remotely, attending virtual meetings, making money I didn't care about, building wealth that had no purpose. My assistant, Patricia, managed everything that required human interaction. She'd been with me for 8 years, knew everything, and never judged, never pitied, just handled things with quiet efficiency. Mr. Ashford, your mother called again. She's worried. She wants to know if you're eating. Tell her I'm fine, Patricia. Everything's fine. She'd pause. That pause that said she knew I was lying, but wouldn't call me on it. Of course, sir. I'll let her know. The penthouse became my tomb. Expensive, beautiful, empty. Every room a reminder of what should have been there. The nursery I couldn't enter, the kitchen too big for one person. The living room with furniture arranged for entertaining I never did. I'd walk through those rooms at night when I couldn't sleep, which was most nights, and I'd think about all the ways a life could be successful on paper and completely hollow in reality. Forbes called me a titan of industry. Business magazines featured me in articles about innovation and disruption. My net worth kept growing. My company kept expanding, and none of it mattered. None of it meant anything, because I was fundamentally broken in a way that success couldn't fix. The panic attack came on a Tuesday. No warning, no obvious trigger. Just suddenly, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but feel the walls of my expensive prison closing in. My chest tightened like someone was squeezing my heart in a fist. My vision tunneled. Sounds became muffled and distant. And I thought, this is it. This is how I die. Alone in a penthouse worth $45 million. Surrounded by things that mean nothing. Having accomplished everything and nothing simultaneously. I stumbled to the elevator, hit the button for the garage. Needed air, needed space. Needed anything other than those walls that knew all my failures. Patricia had given my driver the day off. I was supposed to be in meetings all afternoon. Virtual meetings I could do from my office. But I couldn't be there. Couldn't be anywhere I currently was. My hands found car keys. The Aston Martin. Vintage. Beautiful. A collector's item I'd bought at auction 3 years ago and barely driven. It sat in my private garage space, pristine and pointless, like everything else in my life. I got behind the wheel, turned the key, felt the engine roar to life. That sound, God, that sound. Power, strength, everything I wasn't. And I drove, no destination, no plan. Just drove out of the garage, out of the city, away from the towers of glass and steel that reflected back my own emptiness. The highway gave way to smaller roads. Smaller roads gave way to country lanes. Trees replaced buildings. Fields replaced concrete. And still I drove, letting instinct guide me. Or maybe not instinct. Maybe just a desperate need to be anywhere other than where I'd been. I don't know how long I drove. An hour, maybe 2. Time had stopped meaning anything. I was just moving, just breathing, just trying to outrun the crushing weight of being myself. And then the car sputtered. Once. Twice. The engine coughed like it was choking. And then it died. Just died. rolled to a stop on the side of a road in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I sat there, hands on the steering wheel, and I started laughing. The same kind of laughter Victoria had done in that medical office. The laughter that comes when things are so absurdly terrible that it's either laugh or shatter completely. Of course the car breaks down. Because why should anything in my life work the way it's supposed to? My body doesn't work, my marriage didn't work, and now this car, this stupid expensive car, doesn't work either. I pulled out my phone. No signal. Because of course there wasn't. I was in the middle of farmland and forest, miles from anything resembling civilization. Perfect, absolutely perfect. I got out of the car, looked around, empty road, fields on one side, forest on the other. And in the distance, through a line of trees, something caught my eye. Light, warm light, and glass panels catching the late afternoon sun. A greenhouse. Maybe, or some kind of structure. Signs of human presence. Someone who might have a phone. Someone who could call a tow truck. Someone who could help me get back to my empty life. I started walking. My shoes, handmade Italian leather, $1,000 a pair, immediately sank into mud at the edge of the road. I kept walking. What did it matter? What did any of it matter? The path was overgrown, clearly not maintained for regular visitors. Branches caught at my suit jacket. Burrs stuck to my pants, my expensive clothes getting destroyed with every step. And I felt nothing about it. Just kept walking toward that light like a moth that couldn't help itself. The greenhouse emerged gradually. First just glimpses through trees, then more visible, then fully present, and it was massive, beautiful, glass panels forming curved walls. And inside, even from a distance, I could see green, so much green, life growing in abundance. Beside the greenhouse sat a cottage, small, wooden, smoke curling from the chimney, warm light glowing in windows. It looked like something from a fairy tale or a dream, completely incongruous with everything I knew about the world. I walked up to the cottage door, raised my hand to knock, and hesitated. What was I doing? I was Dominic Ashford, billionaire. I could call any number of people to handle this, except I had no signal. And I was here, and I was so tired of being alone. I knocked 3 times, clear and firm. The kind of knock that said someone important was here, even though I felt anything but important. Footsteps inside. The door opened and she stood there. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't her. Wasn't this woman with silver threaded through dark hair, pulled back in a practical ponytail? Wasn't these eyes that seemed to see straight through expensive suits to the broken man underneath? Wasn't this presence that felt like gravity, like something solid in a world where everything had become untethered? She looked at me, really looked, not at my clothes or my watch or the obvious wealth I was wearing. At me, and something in her expression was knowing, like she'd been expecting me, or someone like me, someone lost. Can I help you? Her voice was warm, steady, the kind of voice that could talk someone off a ledge or into something new. My car broke down. I just need to use a phone if you have one. She studied me for a long moment, those perceptive eyes taking in details I couldn't hide, the hollow look, the expensive emptiness, the barely controlled panic. Come in from the cold. It's not that cold. It's April. She smiled. Small. Knowing. I wasn't talking about the weather. Come in. She stepped aside, and I hesitated. This was absurd. I didn't know this woman. Didn't know where I was. Shouldn't be accepting help from a stranger in the middle of nowhere, but something in her certainty made arguing feel pointless. I stepped inside and immediately felt like I'd entered a different world. The cottage was small, maybe 800 square feet total, but it was filled with life. Plants everywhere, on shelves, hanging from ceiling, in pots on the floor, books overflowing from built-in shelves, The smell of bread baking, herbs drying, earth and growing things. It was chaos. Beautiful chaos. The complete opposite of my sterile penthouse where everything was designer and coordinated and dead. I'm Mira Blackwood. And you look like you need tea more than you need a phone. I really just need to call someone, get a tow truck, get back to the city. Mira moved toward a small kitchen area, ignoring my words completely. When's the last time you ate something? I'm fine, I just need... You're not fine. She said it simply, not unkindly, just stating a fact, like she'd said the sky is blue or water is wet. You're not fine, now sit down before you collapse. And here's the thing, I should have been offended. I was Dominic Ashford. I didn't take orders from strangers. I gave orders. I controlled situations. I didn't let unknown women in cottages tell me what to do. But I was so tired, so completely exhausted from holding myself together. And something about her certainty made surrender feel like relief instead of weakness. I sat in an armchair near a fireplace. The chair was worn, probably older than I was, but it was comfortable in a way my designer furniture had never been. It wrapped around me, held me, and I felt something in my chest crack just slightly. Mira returned with a mug, steam rising from dark liquid that smelled like earth and something indefinable. Drink. All of it. What is it? Medicine. Tea. Does it matter? Drink. I took the mug. Sipped. It tasted like soil and bitterness and something almost sweet underneath. It tasted alive. Real. Like nothing I consumed in years. I drank. And Mira sat across from me in another worn chair, not watching me like I was a curiosity. Just sitting. Present. Comfortable with silence in a way I've forgotten humans could be. Your car's not going anywhere tonight. Nearest mechanic is Gerald. He's 40 miles away, and he doesn't work past 5. It's almost 6 now. I'll call a service, have someone come from the city. With what phone? You have signal out here? I check my phone, still nothing. Of course not, I can pay whatever it costs. I have money. I can, I'm sure you do. Mira's voice was gentle, but money doesn't make Gerald work faster or cell towers appear in the woods. You're stuck here until morning. Panic fluttered in my chest. I can't, I need to, I have meetings, I have... Do you? Do you really have something so urgent it can't wait 12 hours? And that question stopped me cold. Because the answer was no. I had nothing urgent, nothing that mattered, nothing waiting for me except an empty penthouse and a life I was trying to escape. No, I don't have anything urgent. Then stay. I have a guest room. It's small, but it's warm and clean. You can sleep here tonight, get your car fixed in the morning. Be back to wherever you came from by noon. Why would you do that? Why would you help a complete stranger? Mira smiled, and something about that smile reached places inside me I thought were dead. Because 10 years ago, I was the stranger who needed help. Someone opened their door to me when I was dying. Literally dying. I'm just passing it forward. I wanted to ask what she meant, what she'd been dying from. How someone had saved her, but exhaustion was pulling me under like a riptide. The tea, the warmth, the first moment of not having to hold myself together in longer than I could remember. Okay, thank you. I'll stay. Good. Guest room's through there. The door on the left. Go rest. We'll figure out your car situation in the morning. I stood. My legs felt unsteady, like I'd been holding myself rigid for so long that relaxing made me forget how to stand. I walked to the door she'd indicated, opened it, saw a small room with a simple bed, handmade quilt, window overlooking darkness. It was perfect. Wait, I should. What's your name? I should tell you my name. Mira stood in the kitchen doorway, backlit by warm light. If you want to tell me, tell me. If you don't, that's fine too. Names are just labels. They don't tell me who you really are. Dominic. My name is Dominic Ashford. If the name meant anything to her, she didn't show it. No recognition, no change in expression. Just a small nod. Welcome to Blackwood Farm, Dominic Ashford. The most interesting people always seem to find their way here when they need it most. And then she'd turn back to her kitchen, leaving me alone with that statement hanging in the air. The most interesting people, when they need it most. Had I needed this, had some part of me been driving toward this place all along? I didn't have answers. I was too tired for answers. I walked into that small room, closed the door, and collapsed onto the bed fully clothed. Suit jacket, muddy shoes, all of it. Didn't care, and I slept. For the first time in months, maybe years, I slept deeply, dreamlessly, without the crushing weight of failure sitting on my chest, without nightmares of empty nurseries and negative pregnancy tests and Victoria's face when she realized I couldn't give her what she wanted. I slept like a man who'd finally found shelter from a storm he'd been weathering alone for far too long. When I woke, sunlight was streaming through the small window. Birds were singing. Actually singing. When had I last noticed birdsong? The smell of coffee drifted from somewhere in the cottage. Real coffee. Not the automated espresso machine in my penthouse. This smelled like someone had made it with intention. I sat up, looked around the room in daylight, saw details I'd missed in my exhaustion. A painting on the wall. Simple. A garden in full bloom. Books on a small shelf. Titles about plants and healing and growth. A vase with fresh flowers on the windowsill. Someone had put those there recently? For me? For a stranger? I stood, caught my reflection in a small mirror on the wall, and barely recognized myself. My hair was disheveled, my suit wrinkled beyond redemption. Mud stained my pants. I looked like I'd been through something, which I suppose I had. There was a bathroom attached to the guest room. Small, clean. I washed my face, tried to make myself presentable. Failed. But at least I was awake and functional. I found Mira in the greenhouse, that massive structure I'd glimpsed yesterday. And stepping inside was like entering another world. Humid, warm, bursting with life in every direction. Vegetables growing in raised beds. Herbs hanging to dry. Flowers I couldn't name blooming in impossible colors. And Mira moving through it all like she was conducting an orchestra. She was talking to the plants. Actually talking to them. Checking leaves, adjusting stakes. Her hands in the soil like that's where they belonged. Good morning. Sleep well? I did, actually. Better than I have in a long time. Good soil, good rest. They're connected, you know. I don't understand. Most people don't. Coffee's in the cottage. Help yourself. I'll be in soon. I returned to the cottage, found the coffee pot. Poured myself a cup in a mismatched mug that had seen better days, and it tasted incredible. Better than the $20 a pound beans I had shipped to my penthouse monthly. I carried my coffee back to the greenhouse, found myself drawn to it, to Mira, to this world of growing things that felt so foreign and so right simultaneously. What is all this? What are you growing? Everything. Food mostly. I supply restaurants, farmers markets, specialty stores. The herbs go to healers, naturopaths, people who still believe in plant medicine. You make a living from this? Mira looked up from the tomato plant she was examining. I make a life from this. There's a difference. The money's enough. The purpose is priceless. I wandered through the greenhouse, careful not to touch anything, feeling like an intruder in this green cathedral. How long have you been doing this? 10 years, give or take. And before that, I was dying. She said it casually, like she'd said I was making coffee or I was planting seeds. No drama, no weight, just fact. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize. You asked a question. I answered honestly. Mira stood, wiped her hands on her jeans, looked at me with those eyes that saw too much. I had cancer. Stage 4. Aggressive, metastatic. The doctors gave me 6 months, maybe less. They said there was nothing more they could do. Chemo had failed. Radiation had failed. My body was shutting down. God, I'm so sorry. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. I stared at her. How could dying be the best thing? Because it taught me what living actually meant. I came here to die, Dominic. Bought this property with what little money I had left. Built this greenhouse. Figured if I was going out, I wanted to be somewhere beautiful. Somewhere I could at least try to grow something before I was gone. And I started researching. Plants. Traditional medicine. Things indigenous cultures had used for thousands of years. Things pharmaceutical companies couldn't patent, so they ignored. I started growing herbs, making teas, tinctures, taking them because why not? I was dying anyway. You healed. Slowly. So slowly I almost didn't notice at first. More energy. Less pain. Tumors that had been growing started shrinking. I went back to the doctor 6 months later, expecting them to plan my funeral, and they couldn't find any cancer. Not in my lymph nodes, not in my organs, not anywhere. What did they say? Spontaneous remission. A miracle, 1 in a million. They didn't have an explanation that fit their understanding of medicine. But I knew. The plants had healed me. Not overnight, not magically. But cellular level by cellular level, they gave my body what it needed to remember how to heal itself. I looked around the greenhouse with new understanding. So you grow miracles. Mira laughed. Full and genuine. I grow plants. People make their own miracles by using them correctly. I just provide the raw materials. And you do this alone? Mostly. I have help during harvest, but day to day, it's me and the plants. Some people think I'm crazy, living out here alone, talking to vegetables. But this place saved my life. The least I can do is honor it by keeping it alive. We worked in silence for a while. She showed me how to check soil moisture, how to identify plants ready for harvest, how to prune tomatoes for better growth. Basic things. But doing them with my hands, feeling soil under my fingernails, watching things grow because of effort and care, it felt significant in a way boardrooms and profit margins never had. Your car is at Gerald's shop. I called him this morning. He says you need a new alternator. He can get the part, but it'll take a few days. A few days? I can't stay here for a few days. I need to get back. I need to. Need to what? And that question stopped me again. Because what did I need to get back to? What was waiting that couldn't wait? What was I running back to that was so important? Nothing. I don't need to get back to anything. Then stay. Help me around here. The south fence needs mending. The supply shed is a disaster. I've been putting off organizing it for months. If you're stuck here anyway, might as well be useful. This was insane. Dominic Ashford doing manual labor on a farm in the middle of nowhere. I had assistants for this kind of thing. I had people who handled problems. I didn't fix fences and organize sheds. Except I found myself saying, okay, I'll stay. Just until the car's fixed. Mira smiled. Like she knew something I didn't. Like she could see the future and found it amusing. Just until the car's fixed. Sure. And so I stayed. That first day turned into a week. The week turned into 2. The alternator took longer than expected. Then it was something else. Then something else. And I stopped asking when the car would be ready. Because somewhere in that time, I stopped wanting to leave. The work was hard. Physical. My body, used to climate-controlled offices and ergonomic chairs, protested everything. Mending fences left my hands blistered. Hauling compost made muscles I'd forgotten existed scream in agony. Organizing the shed in summer heat had me sweating through clothes I'd never sweat through before. But it felt good. In a way I couldn't quite explain, it felt right. At the end of each day, I could see what I'd accomplished. A fence that was whole, a shed that was organized, plants that were thriving because I'd watered them, cared for them, paid attention. In my business life, success was abstract. Numbers on screens, percentages and projections. But here, success was tangible, real. A tomato growing red and heavy on the vine because I'd staked it properly. That meant something. Mira and I fell into rhythms. Morning coffee in the greenhouse while she planned the day. Working side by side, talking sometimes, comfortable in silence others. Lunch made from food she'd grown. More work. Dinner together, and evening sitting in her cottage while she taught me about plants, healing, the complex ecosystems required to grow life from dirt. Tell me about your life. Before the car, before here. What were you running from? Her question came one evening while we sat in her small living room. She was mending a torn gardening glove. I was pretending to read a book about companion planting, but mostly just existing in the warm quiet of her space. I wasn't running from anything. My car just broke down. Dominic. She looked up, set down the glove. We've spent 2 weeks together. I've watched you avoid every personal question. I've seen you flinch when your phone rings, which it barely ever does. I've noticed you never mention family, friends, a life waiting for you. So let's try honesty. What were you running from? And something about her directness, her refusal to let me hide, cracked something open. Failure. I was running from the fact that I failed at the only thing that actually matters. The words started flowing. And once they started, I couldn't stop them. I told her about Victoria, about the diagnosis, about 10 years of trying to have children and failing every single time, about 73 procedures and $47 million and a marriage that died slowly from the weight of disappointment. I told her about the shame, the feeling of being less than a man because my body couldn't do what bodies are supposed to do, the isolation, the empty penthouse, the success that meant nothing because I had no one to share it with, no legacy to pass it to. I told her everything. And when I finished, when I'd emptied myself of words and grief and years of held back pain, I waited for her to look at me differently, with pity or discomfort or the careful sympathy people give to broken things they don't know how to fix. Instead, she moved to sit beside me, took my hand, and said words that changed everything. What you're describing isn't failure, Dominic. It's trauma. You were systematically told for 10 years that you were defective. That's not a small thing. That's profound damage to your sense of self, and damage can heal. I shook my head. You don't understand. This isn't psychological. It's biological. My body's broken. Tests don't lie. Tests tell you what's happening. They don't tell you what's possible. And bodies are more resilient than we give them credit for. You think plants can fix me? You think some herbal tea is going to magically make me fertile? No. Mira's voice was firm. I think stress, environmental toxins, nutritional deficiencies, emotional trauma, all of those things affect reproductive health in ways most doctors don't address. I think you spent 10 years attacking your body with procedures and drugs and shame, and I think if you spent time supporting your body instead, giving it what it needs to heal, you might be surprised what's possible. You really believe that? I was dying, Dominic. Tumors in my lymph nodes, my liver, my lungs. And doctor said 6 months. That was 10 years ago. So yes, I believe healing is possible, even when medicine says it's not. I believe the body wants to heal. We just have to create the right conditions. I looked at her, this woman who'd survived impossible odds, who'd built a life from dirt and seeds and stubborn hope, and I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe that maybe I wasn't permanently broken, that maybe healing was possible. What would it look like if I tried? What would I have to do? Everything and nothing. Change your diet, reduce stress, take herbs that support reproductive health, Work with your hands, sleep properly, move your body. Basically, learn to be human again instead of a medical case file. She made it sound simple, but I knew it wouldn't be. Changing everything about my life, trusting a process with no guarantees, risking hope again when hope had destroyed me before. I'm scared. I'm terrified of trying and failing again, of believing it's possible and being wrong. Again, then don't believe. Just do the work. Belief can come later or not, but the work will still change you. Okay, I'll try. Mira squeezed my hand. Good. We start tomorrow. Fair warning, this won't be easy. Healing never is. But if you're committed, so am I. That night, lying in the small guest room that had become my home, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not quite hope, but adjacent to it. Possibility. The tiny chance that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as broken as I believed. The healing began before dawn. Mira woke me with a knock on the guest room door, and a mug of something that smelled like earth had been brewed into liquid form. Drink all of it. Don't smell it too much, just drink. I took the mug, looked at the dark brown liquid with visible sediment at the bottom. What is this? Medicine. Maca root, ashwagandha, tribulus, nettle root, pine pollen. It supports hormonal balance, cellular health, reproductive function. I took a sip. It tasted worse than it smelled. Bitter, earthy, like drinking the greenhouse floor. I forced it down, all of it, because I'd said I would try. And trying meant trusting Mira even when every instinct said this was pointless. Good. Now this one. She handed me another mug. This one darker, almost black. What's in this one? Does it matter? I suppose not. I drank the second tea. It was somehow worse than the first. When I finished, Mira smiled. Proud. Like I'd accomplished something significant instead of just choking down herbal torture. Every morning, both teas. Your body's been running on empty for years. We're filling the tank back up with dirt-flavored water, with concentrated nutrients your diet's been missing. Modern food is depleted, Dominic. Beautiful, convenient, and nutritionally empty. We're correcting that. The daily routine became my new religion. Morning teas that tasted like punishment. Hours of physical labor in the greenhouse and around the farm. Meals made entirely from what Mira grew. Nothing processed, nothing packaged. Everything from soil to plate. Evening supplements, tinctures, more herbs, and meditation. The meditation was the hardest part. Sit. Close your eyes. Breathe. Focus on your body without judgment. I can't do this. Yes, you can. Mira, I'm telling you, I cannot sit still and focus on my body. Do you know what happens when I focus on my body? I think about everything that's wrong with it. Everything it can't do, everything that makes me defective. I know. That's why we're doing this. That doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. You can't heal what you're at war with. Right now, you hate your body. You see it as the enemy. As long as that's true, healing is impossible. So, what, I'm supposed to just magically love the body that destroyed my marriage? The body that took away my future? No. You're supposed to stop seeing it as separate from you. Your body isn't the enemy, Dominic. It's been trying to survive in hostile conditions. Stress, toxins, emotional trauma. It's doing the best it can with what you've given it. I sat on the floor of Mira's living room, legs crossed, eyes closed, and tried to breathe without thinking about how much I hated this. Hated the silence. Hated the stillness. Hated being alone with thoughts I'd spent 3 years trying to outrun. Focus on your breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth. When thoughts come, and they will, just notice them. Don't engage. Just breathe. Thoughts came immediately. Memories. Victoria's face when the doctor said the treatment failed. Again, my mother's carefully neutral expression when I told her there wouldn't be grandchildren. The empty nursery. The Instagram post announcing Victoria's pregnancy with someone else. My chest tightened. My breathing got shallow. I wanted to run, wanted to stop, wanted to be anywhere but here, sitting with my own pain. Mira's hand touched my shoulder. Steady. Grounding. Breathe, Dominic, just breathe. You're safe. The thoughts can't hurt you. They're just thoughts. They feel like they can hurt me. I know, but they can't. Breathe. I breathed in, out, and slowly the panic subsided. Not disappeared, just became manageable. Something I could sit with instead of something I had to escape. We did this every evening, 15 minutes at first, then 20, then 30, and gradually, impossibly, it got easier. The thoughts still came. The shame, the grief, the rage at my own biology. But I learned to sit with them, to let them exist without letting them consume me. You're doing good work, Dominic. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like torture. Good work rarely feels good while you're doing it. That's how you know it matters. The weeks passed. My body started changing in ways I noticed and ways I didn't. The constant fatigue I carried for years began lifting. Food started tasting real again. Not just fuel. Actual flavors. Actual satisfaction. Sleep came easier. Deeper. Dreams returned. Not nightmares, just normal dreams about normal things. And my body, the body I'd hated for so long, started feeling like mine again. Muscles developed from real work. My hands, soft from years of keyboard typing and boardroom handshakes, became calloused and capable. I could lift things, build things, fix things. Mira, can I ask you something? Always. We were in the greenhouse, planting seedlings, the repetitive work that had become meditative. Our hands in soil, side by side. Why are you doing this? Really? And don't say because someone helped you. There's more to it. She was quiet for a long moment. Hands working. Face thoughtful. I can't have children either. Different reasons. The cancer. The treatments before I came here. They damage things that can't be repaired. My uterus, my ovaries, everything that would be needed to carry a pregnancy. I stopped working. Looked at her. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. How could you? I don't talk about it much. I made peace with it years ago. Found other ways to nurture life. Other ways to create legacy. She gestured around the greenhouse. At the plants. The abundance. The life growing everywhere. But I know the grief, Dominic. I know what it feels like to be told your body is broken in a way that makes you less than. I know the shame. The isolation. The feeling that you failed at something fundamental. So you help me because you understand. I help you because no one should carry that alone. Because I know healing is possible even when the outcome isn't what you originally wanted. Because maybe, just maybe, supporting your body properly could change your situation. But even if it doesn't, you can still heal from the trauma of believing you're defective. What if the medical stuff doesn't change? What if I do all this work and my counts are still terrible and fatherhood is still impossible? Then you'll have done the work of healing yourself anyway. You'll have learned that your worth isn't tied to your reproductive capacity. You'll have built a life that has meaning beyond biology. That's not a consolation prize, Dominic. That's the actual prize. I looked at this woman who'd survived death and built miracles from soil, who saw my broken pieces and didn't flinch. And I felt something shift in my chest. Something that felt dangerously like falling. I caught myself staring at her more often. The way she moved through the greenhouse. The way she talked to plants like they were friends. The way she laughed, full and genuine, when I made terrible jokes about crop rotation. The way her hands looked in soil. Strong. Capable. Home. We were working late one evening. Summer sunset, painting the greenhouse walls golden orange. Mira was showing me how to tie tomato plants properly. Our hands brush once, twice, and the third time neither of us pulled away. The air between us changed, charged, heavy with something unspoken. Mira, don't what? Don't say what you're about to say. Not yet. How do you know what I'm about to say? Because I can feel it too. And we can't. Not yet. Why not? She stepped back, put physical distance between us, and I saw conflict in her eyes. Want and restraint fighting each other. Because you're still healing. Because you need to separate gratitude from genuine feeling. Because I won't be the rebound from your trauma. I care about you too much for that. This isn't gratitude. This isn't rebound. This is... You don't know what this is yet. And neither do I. So we wait. We let you heal. We see who you become when you're not defined by your diagnosis. And then, maybe then we figure out what this is. It was the right thing to say. The wise thing. The thing that protected both of us from rushing into something that might just be proximity and shared wounds. But God, it was hard. Being near her, working beside her, sharing meals and conversations in this life we were building together, and not being able to touch her the way I wanted, not being able to tell her that somewhere between herbal tea and meditation and learning to grow tomatoes, I'd fallen completely in love with her. 3 months into my stay at Blackwood Farm, Mira made a suggestion. I want you to get tested. Comprehensive blood work, hormone panels, sperm analysis, everything. I felt my stomach drop. Why? What's the point? Because we should know if anything's changed. Not because it defines your worth, but because data is useful. What if nothing's changed? What if I've been doing all this work and I'm exactly as broken as I was? Then we know, and we adjust. But Dominic, you're not the same man who showed up here 3 months ago. Your body has changed. I can see it. You can feel it. Let's find out what that means medically. I'm scared. I know. We're doing it anyway. We drove 2 towns over to a clinic where nobody would recognize me, where I could just be Dominic. Not Dominic Ashford, billionaire. Not the guy whose marriage imploded publicly. Just a man getting medical tests. The process was clinical, familiar. I'd done this so many times before. Blood drawn, samples collected, forms filled out. But this time felt different. This time I wasn't desperate, wasn't grasping, was just curious about what my body might have to say. Results in a week. That week was the longest of my life. Longer than waiting for business deals. Longer than waiting for Victoria's pregnancy tests. Longer than anything. Because this time hope was involved. Real hope. Not the frantic, desperate hope of my marriage, but quiet, terrifying hope that maybe something had changed. Mira and I didn't talk about it. Just kept working. Kept our routine. Kept pretending that everything was normal while we both waited for numbers that would tell us if miracles were possible or if I was still fundamentally broken. The results came on a Thursday. Mira picked them up from the clinic, brought them back to the farm, and I found her in the cottage kitchen, papers spread across the table, reading with focused intensity. I stood in the doorway, unable to move, unable to ask, unable to do anything but wait for her verdict. She looked up, and her eyes were bright, not with pity, with something else. Sit down. Just tell me. Good or bad. Just tell me. Sit down, Dominic. I sat, hands shaking, heart hammering, every worst case scenario running through my head. Mira slid the papers toward me, pointed to specific numbers, but they were just numbers. Medical jargon I learned to hate. Tell me in plain English, what does it say? It says your counts are up, significantly up. I stared at her, unable to process. Up? How much? She pointed to the first number. Sperm count. When you were diagnosed 10 years ago, you were at 5 million per milliliter. Normal is 15 million or higher. You were in the severe oligospermia category. And now, Now you're at 18 million per milliliter. You're in the normal range, Dominic. Low normal, but normal. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Just stared at numbers that had defined my entire adult life and saw them transform. Motility. Your progressive motility was at 15%. We need 40% minimum. You're now at 42%. That's normal. That's normal. And morphology. The shape and structure. You were at 2% normal forms. You're now at 6%. Optimal is 14, but 4% is considered adequate for conception. You're above that threshold. The room was spinning. Or maybe I was spinning. I couldn't tell. All I knew was that everything I believed about myself for 10 years was wrong. How is this possible? I spent millions on treatments, saw the best doctors, tried everything, and tea and vegetables and meditation fixed it? It's not that simple. Mira's voice was gentle, grounding. Those treatments were forcing your body to perform while it was under attack from stress, toxins, nutritional depletion, trauma. This approach supported your whole system, reduced inflammation, removed environmental toxins, gave your cells what they needed to function properly. Your body healed because you created the conditions for healing. Does this mean I can have children? It means your chances are significantly better than they were. It means natural conception is possible where it wasn't before. It means IVF would have much higher success rates, but it's not a guarantee, Dominic. Biology is complicated. There are other factors, but it's possible. Yes, it's possible. I put my head in my hands, and I cried. Not delicate tears, huge shaking sobs that came from somewhere deep and ancient. 10 years of grief, 10 years of shame, 10 years of believing I was broken beyond repair. And it wasn't true. It had never been completely true. Mira moved beside me, her arms around me, holding me while I fell apart in her kitchen. Let it out. All of it. You've been carrying this alone for too long. I don't understand. I don't understand how this happened. Your body remembered how to heal because you finally stopped attacking it and started supporting it. I pulled back, looked at her through tears. Thank you. God, Mira, thank you. You saved me. We saved you. You did the work. Every morning you drank those terrible teas. Every day you showed up. Every meditation session you pushed through. That was you choosing to heal. I just created the environment. I love you. The words came out before I could stop them. Unplanned, unfiltered, just truth. Mira's eyes filled with tears. Dominic, I know you said not yet. I know you said wait, but I need you to know. This isn't gratitude. This isn't because you helped me. I love you. I love your strength. I love the way you see beauty in broken things. I love how you talk to plants. I love your terrible jokes about compost. I love everything about you. I've been in love with you since you showed up here covered in mud and trying to pretend you were fine. But I needed you to heal first. Needed you to know your worth had nothing to do with me or what I could do for you. So what now? Now you ask me properly? Ask you what? If you can kiss me. Can I kiss you? I thought you'd never ask. Our lips met, and it was nothing like the performative kisses with Victoria, the obligatory affection that felt like checking boxes. This was real, deep, certain. Two people who'd survived their own hells and found each other in the wreckage. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, Mira kept her hands on my face. I need you to understand something. These test results are wonderful, but they don't change anything fundamental. I still can't carry a pregnancy. If we do this, if we build a life together, children might still not be possible. Then we figure it out together. Adoption, surrogacy, or just us building something meaningful. I don't care anymore. I spent 10 years obsessed with biological children, and it nearly destroyed me. I'm not making that mistake again. What do you want, Dominic? Really want? I want you. I want this life. I want to keep growing things and learning and being someone who matters beyond a bank account. And yes, I still want to be a father, but I want it with you, however that looks, even if it means surrogacy, even if it means children who are genetically yours, but carried by someone else. Even then, especially then, because I finally understand that family isn't just biology, it's choice. It's showing up, it's building something together. Mira smiled. Then let's build it. All of it. That night we made love for the first time. In her bed. In the cottage that had become my home. And my body, the body I'd hated for so long, worked. Not just mechanically, beautifully, naturally, like it had been waiting for the right person, the right moment, the right kind of love. Afterward, tangled together, Mira traced patterns on my chest. What are you thinking? That I spent 10 years trying to force something that wasn't meant to be. And then I stopped trying and found everything I actually needed. Very philosophical. I'm serious. With Victoria, I was trying to check boxes. Successful marriage, biological children, the perfect family to match my perfect life. But none of it was real. And this is real. Messy and uncertain and absolutely real. I have something to tell you. Mira propped herself up on one elbow. I've been thinking about surrogacy. For us. There's a woman I know, Sophia. She's helped other couples. If you're interested, if you still want to try for biological children, we could explore that option. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel pressured. I'm not. I've made peace with my body's limitations, but that doesn't mean I can't help make your dream possible. Our dream. A family, however we create it. Let's try. Together, and if it works, perfect. If it doesn't, we'll figure out plan B. Deal. We spent the next few months doing something I'd never done before. Building a life with intention, not rushing, not forcing, just growing together the way Mira had taught me to grow plants. With patience, with proper care, with trust in the process. I officially sold my penthouse. $45 million that had been my cage. Invested heavily in Blackwood Farm. Expanded the greenhouses. Established partnerships with high-end restaurants and wellness centers. The farm became not just Mira's project, but ours. A place of healing and growth for anyone who needed it. My parents visited. They'd been terrified when I disappeared, but seeing me now, healthy and happy and alive in ways I hadn't been in years, they understood. My mother hugged Mira for a full minute. Thank you. Thank you for giving him back to us. He did the work himself, Mrs. Ashford. I just created the space. My father pulled me aside. You look good, son. Really good. Like yourself again. I feel like myself. Maybe for the first time. Ever. This woman. Mira. You love her. More than I thought possible. Then hold on to that. Love like that doesn't come around often. We found Sophia through Mira's network. A kind woman in her early 30s who'd been a gestational carrier twice before. She met us at the farm, sat in the greenhouse, and listened to our story. I want to help. I'd be honored to help. The process began. IVF with my improved counts and donor eggs. Because Mira's eggs weren't viable, we chose a donor who looked like Mira. Dark hair, strong features, intelligence in her profile. So our children would carry my genetics and echo Mira's presence. The first attempt failed. The embryo didn't implant, and I felt the familiar grief, but this time it didn't crush me. Mira held me while I cried, and then we kept living, kept working, kept building. We try again, or we don't. Either way, we're okay. We tried again, and this time, 2 weeks later, Sophia called with news. It's positive, I'm pregnant. Mira and I stood in our greenhouse, holding each other, hardly daring to believe. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. The pregnancy progressed carefully, cautiously. Every milestone felt like borrowed time. But Sophia was generous, included us in everything: appointments, ultrasounds, making us feel connected despite the unusual circumstances. At the 20-week ultrasound, Sophia lay on the examination table. Mira held my hand, and the technician moved the wand across Sophia's belly. There's the heartbeat, strong and steady. Can you tell the gender? I can. Would you like to know? Yes. Please, it's a boy. A son. I was going to have a son. The thing I'd wanted for 10 years, the thing I'd believed was impossible, was growing in Sophia's womb, carrying my genetics, becoming real. The technician moved the wand again, adjusting the angle, and then paused. Wait, there's another heartbeat. What? You're having twins, 2 boys. Congratulations. The room disappeared. The world disappeared. All that existed was that screen showing 2 tiny forms, 2 heartbeats, 2 sons. Mira was crying, laughing, squeezing my hand so hard it hurt. Twins, Dominic. We're having twins. I couldn't speak, could barely breathe, could only stare at the impossible miracle on that screen. The babies arrived on a spring morning. Early. Healthy. Perfect. Sophia labored for 14 hours. Mira and I were there for all of it, supporting the woman who was giving us everything. The first cry pierced the air. High. Indignant. Beautiful. It's a boy. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. They placed him on my chest. This tiny human with eyes squeezed shut and fists waving. My son. My actual son. River. His name is River. Minutes later, a second cry joined the first. Another boy. 6 pounds, 8 ounces. Mira held him, tears streaming down her face. Hello, little one. Hello, Sage. River and Sage, our sons, our family, our impossible, perfect, miraculous family. Sophia smiled from the bed, exhausted and beautiful. Take care of them, love them. That's all I ask. We will. God, Sophia, we will. Thank you. Thank you for this gift. We brought River and Sage home to Blackwood Farm 3 days later. To the nursery we prepared in the cottage. Simple wooden cribs Mira and I had built together. Blankets from my mother. A room filled with love and anticipation. And the profound responsibility of 2 tiny lives depending on us. That first night was chaos. River cried. Then Sage cried. Then both cried simultaneously. Neither Mira nor I knew what we were doing. We were fumbling through diaper changes and feeding attempts and the beautiful disaster of new parenthood. At 3 a.m, I was walking River around the cottage while Mira nursed Sage with a bottle. We were exhausted, overwhelmed, and happier than I'd ever been in my life. We have no idea what we're doing. Mira laughed. Not even a little bit. But we'll figure it out. Just like we figured out everything else. Exactly like that. River settled against my chest, his tiny heartbeat against mine, and I felt complete in a way I'd never felt before. Not because of business success, not because of wealth, but because of this. Connection, purpose, love. If you're watching this and you're feeling broken, if you're believing the lie that you're too damaged for happiness, I need you to hear me. Drop a comment right now. Tell me what part of this story resonated with you. Share this video with someone who needs to know that healing is possible. Subscribe to Secrets of the Rich with Mr. Whitmore, because the real secrets aren't about money. They're about transformation. They're about understanding that your worth isn't your function, that broken isn't permanent, that the right soil and the right conditions can help even the most damaged things remember how to grow. Hit that like button if you believe miracles are possible. If you believe that rock bottom can be the foundation for something beautiful. Your engagement helps this message reach people who need it. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's continue. 6 months passed in a blur of sleepless nights and first smiles, and the organized chaos of raising twins. The farm thrived. River and Sage grew. Mira and I learned how to be parents through trial and error, and so much love it felt like it might break us open. I was in the greenhouse one afternoon, River and Sage in carriers strapped to my chest. both sleeping against me while I checked on the tomato plants, talking to them the way Mira had taught me. See these plants, boys? This is where everything changed for Daddy. This is where I learned that growth takes time, that you can't force things, that the best things come when you stop grasping and start trusting. River made a small sound in his sleep. Sage's tiny hand curled around my finger. I thought about the man who'd arrived here 2 years ago, broken, desperate, ready to give up, and I barely recognized him. That man had been so focused on what he couldn't do that he missed everything he could be. Dominic, I turned. A woman stood at the greenhouse entrance, and my heart stopped. Victoria. She looked different, older, tired. The Polish and confidence I remembered had faded into something more human, more uncertain. I heard you were here. I hope it's okay. I wanted to see you, to talk. Mira appeared from the cottage, saw Victoria, looked at me with a question in her eyes. I nodded. It's okay. Victoria stepped into the greenhouse, saw the babies strapped to my chest, and her expression crumbled. Are they? Mine. Yes. Well, ours. Mira's and mine, River and Sage. They're beautiful. Thank you. Silence stretched between us, heavy with history, with pain, with the marriage that died and the life that came after. I'm sorry. For everything, for how I left, for what I said, for making you feel like you were broken when you weren't. I was broken, Victoria, medically. The diagnosis wasn't wrong, but I was, about everything. I thought a baby would make me happy, would complete me. I got pregnant with Mark, had my daughter, and I'm grateful for her. I love her, but it didn't fix anything, didn't make me whole. Mark and I didn't last. I'm raising Emma alone now, and I realize I spent so much time focused on what you couldn't give me that I never saw what you could. I appreciate that. I do. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm not holding on to bitterness. I found my peace, Victoria. I found my family, and I hope you find yours. How did you do it? How did you heal? I stopped running. I planted myself in one place and did the work of growing. I found someone who saw me as more than my diagnosis. I learned that my worth wasn't tied to my reproductive capacity. And slowly, impossibly, my body remembered how to function. The babies, are they? IVF, surrogacy, my improved counts, and a generous woman who carried them. It's unconventional, but it's ours. Victoria looked around the greenhouse, at the abundance, at Mira standing protectively near the entrance, at me with 2 babies sleeping on my chest. You look happy, really happy. I am. For the first time in my adult life, I actually am. I'm glad. You deserve that. So do you, Victoria. I mean it. I hope you and Emma have a beautiful life. She nodded, started to leave, turned back. For what it's worth, I think you're going to be an amazing father. Thank you. And then she was gone, walking out of the greenhouse, out of my life. And I felt nothing but compassion. No anger, no vindication, just hope that she'd find the healing I'd found. Mira came to stand beside me. You okay? Yeah, I really am. She kissed my cheek. Then let's go feed these boys before they wake up screaming. That night, after River and Sage were fed and changed and sleeping in their cribs, I sat in the cottage with a journal Mira had given me, and I wrote a letter. To the man I used to be, the one who believed he was broken beyond repair. Dear past me, you think you're broken? You think your worth is tied to what your body can produce. You think success means control and certainty and checking the right boxes. You're wrong about all of it. The years ahead will be hard. You'll lose things you thought defined you. Your marriage, your certainty, your carefully constructed life. But you'll gain everything that actually matters. You'll learn that healing requires surrender, not control. You'll discover that the best things come when you stop grasping. You'll find a woman who sees your broken pieces and doesn't flinch, who teaches you that growth takes time and proper conditions and patience. You'll become a father, not the way you plan, but in a way that's somehow better because you'll appreciate every single moment. You'll learn that your worth isn't your function, that being human means being imperfect and loved anyway, that purpose isn't found in achievement, but in showing up with honesty and courage every single day. The man you're becoming is so much better than the man you think you're supposed to be. Trust the process, do the work, plant yourself in good soil, and wait for miracles. They're coming. I promise. Love, future you. I read it to Mira. She cried. I cried. We held each other in the cottage that had become our home. You should share that. People need to hear it. Maybe I will. Months turned into a year. River and Sage grew into toddlers. Curious, chaotic, perfect. They learned to walk in the greenhouse. Their first steps between tomato plants. They learned words. Dada. Mama. More. No. They learned that dirt was fun and plants were friends and the world was full of wonders. I taught them what Mira had taught me. That growth takes time. That you can't force things. That everything you need is already inside you. You just need good soil and patience and people who believe in your potential. Mira added her own lessons. And the courage to keep growing even when it's hard. My parents visited often, grandparents who thought they'd never have grandchildren. Now they couldn't get enough of River and Sage. My mother would sit in the greenhouse with one boy on each knee, reading them stories about gardens and growth. My father and I built a treehouse together in the oak tree behind the cottage for when the boys were older. You've built a good life here, son. A really good life. Thanks, Dad. I finally figured out what actually matters. What's that? Not the size of your bank account, not your title or your possessions or your achievements, just the people you love and the life you build together. It took you long enough to learn it. Better late than never. We held a small ceremony on the farm. 2 years after I'd first arrived, Mira and I standing in the greenhouse where we'd fallen in love. River and Sage in the arms of friends who'd become family. And we made it official. I, Dominic Ashford, take you, Mira Blackwood, to be my wife. My partner in all things, the woman who saw me drowning and taught me how to swim. I promise to keep growing with you, to do the hard work of healing, to plant seeds and trust the process, to love you and these boys and the life we're building with everything I have. I, Mira Blackwood, take you, Dominic Ashford, to be my husband, the man who showed up broken and chose to heal. I promise to keep creating space for miracles, to believe in possibilities even when they seem impossible, to love you and our family and this beautiful, messy life with my whole heart. We kissed. River giggled. Sage clapped. And our small gathering cheered. That evening, after guests had left and the boys were sleeping, Mira and I sat in the greenhouse. Just sat, surrounded by life we'd grown together. Happy? Beyond measure? Good. Because this is just the beginning. Beginning of what? Everything. The boys growing up, the farm expanding, us figuring out how to navigate toddlerhood and then childhood and then at the teenage years. Terrifying. Completely. But we'll figure it out together, just like we figured out everything else. Exactly like that. I looked at my wife, at the greenhouse filled with abundance, at the cottage where our son slept peacefully, at the life we'd built from broken pieces and stubborn hope, and I understood something fundamental. Real wealth had nothing to do with money. It had everything to do with this, with love and purpose and the courage to keep growing, even when you don't know if it's possible. The Barren Billionaire had learned what the truly rich already know. You can't buy wholeness, you can't force healing, and the most valuable things in life grow slowly, in good soil, when you stop trying to control the outcome and start trusting the process. My name is Mr. Whitmore, and I've just shared with you one of the most powerful stories of transformation I've ever encountered, because Dominic Ashford's journey isn't just about infertility. It's about every single person who's ever felt broken beyond repair. Let me tell you the real secrets he discovered. Secrets that the wealthy understand but rarely share. Secret number one: the richest people aren't those with the most money. They're those who've learned that healing is wealth, that peace is luxury, that purpose outlasts profit. Dominic spent $47 million trying to force a solution. The answer cost him nothing financially, but required everything emotionally: surrender, patience, daily commitment, vulnerability, the courage to hope again. Secret number two: transformation doesn't happen in boardrooms or through force of will. It happens in quiet moments, in soil and sweat, in the daily choice to show up even when you're terrified. Dominic didn't heal because he tried harder. He healed because he finally stopped attacking his body and started supporting it. Secret number three: the things we want most desperately often require us to become someone different to receive them. Dominic got his children, but only after he stopped defining himself by their absence. Only after he learned that his worth had nothing to do with his reproductive capacity. Secret number four: real love sees you broken and doesn't flinch. It creates conditions for healing, not demands for performance. Mira didn't fix Dominic. She created an environment where he could fix himself. That's the difference between codependence and partnership. Secret number five: your darkest moment, that breakdown on an empty road, might be destiny's brutal way of leading you exactly where you need to be. Dominic thought he was running away. He was actually running toward everything he'd been missing. Now let me ask you directly: what have you decided is permanently broken about yourself? What shame are you carrying that's keeping you isolated? What would change if you believed healing was possible? Maybe you're not struggling with infertility. Maybe your battle's different. But I guarantee you're carrying something. Some wound. Some belief about your own inadequacy. Some way you've decided you're not enough. Here's what Dominic learned: that belief is a lie. You're not broken beyond repair. You're traumatized. And trauma can heal. But healing requires you to stop running, to plant yourself in good soil, to do the unsexy daily work of showing up for yourself, to find people who see your potential, not just your problems, to be patient with your process. Dominic spent 10 years obsessed with outcomes, control, forcing solutions. It nearly destroyed him. The moment he surrendered, the moment he focused on healing himself instead of fixing his situation, everything changed. Not overnight, not magically, but cellular level by cellular level. His body remembered how to function. His heart remembered how to hope. His life remembered how to have meaning. And here's the most important part: even if his medical numbers hadn't improved, even if he'd never become a biological father, the healing still would have mattered, because he learned that his worth wasn't tied to what his body could produce. That's the lesson that will serve him for the rest of his life. That's the lesson that will make him an incredible father to River and Sage. Your breakthrough might not look like Dominic's, but the principles remain. Stop running from your pain. Plant yourself in it. Find your greenhouse, the environment that supports growth. Do the daily work. Healing isn't dramatic, it's consistent. Surround yourself with people who see you clearly and love you anyway. Be patient with your process. Transformation takes time. Know that broken isn't the end. It's often the beginning. I want you to do something right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Think about the thing you've decided makes you broken. The thing you're ashamed of. The thing you think disqualifies you from happiness. Now hear me say this: that thing doesn't define you. It's information. It's part of your story. But it's not the ending. You get to write what comes next. Dominic was the Barren Billionaire. Now he's the healed husband, the present father, the man who grows miracles in soil because someone taught him that miracles are possible. What will your transformation be? If this story moved you, I need to know. Drop a comment telling me what lesson hit you hardest. Tell me what you're going to do differently because you heard Dominic's story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're not broken. They're just healing. Subscribe to Secrets of the Rich with Mr. Whitmore. Hit that notification bell. Because the real secrets aren't about accumulating wealth. They're about transforming pain into purpose, shame into strength, brokenness into beauty. Like this video if you believe healing is possible, no matter how damaged you feel. Share it if you know someone who needs this message. Comment if you're ready to stop running and start growing. Your engagement isn't just numbers, it's how we reach people who are sitting in their own empty penthouses, believing they're too broken for happiness. You could be the reason they take that first step toward healing. Remember what Mira told Dominic, you can't heal what you're at war with. Stop fighting yourself. Stop seeing your struggles as evidence of inadequacy. Start seeing them as invitations to grow. Plant yourself in good soil. Do the daily work. Trust the process. And wait for miracles. They're coming. I promise. This is Mr. Whitmore, reminding you that the secrets of the rich aren't about money. They're about meaning, about understanding that real wealth is measured in love, purpose, and the courage to keep growing, even when you don't know if it's possible. Until next time, keep planting seeds, keep trusting the process, keep believing that you're not too broken to bloom. You're just waiting for the right soil. And sometimes the right soil finds you on an abandoned road when your car breaks down and you have nowhere left to run except toward the light. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing that transformation is possible. Now go, do the work, heal yourself, and watch how everything else falls into place.